Hey everyone, welcome to Lawyer Up Podcast. This is your host, John Ting. Today we have two wonderful attorneys. They are partners together for the last 3 years actually, and I've known Jay for at least 5 years before they became partners. They focus on mass torts and also class action lawsuits for those who are not paid their wages. Believe it or not, that happens very often. So check your pay stub. Um, you'll hear about how they are operating during the coronavirus. With Step 15, it sounds like they're doing a pretty good job. And you'll also hear about Jay's 10-foot rule and how they're giving back to the community every day. But they're really modest about it. So we'll dig in a little deeper. And they also share a bit of advice for law students who are seeking to get experience right out of law school. So stay tuned and let's head to the interview room. Tell us a little about your law firm. You two have joined, I don't know, is it about 3-4 years ago by now?
Sure, it's great to be with you, John. I told you a few weeks ago that I missed not only Houston but just getting together. So I really appreciate you facilitating this. I'm Jay Forester. My partner Matthew Haynie is on here as well. We have a plaintiffs firm called Forester Haynie that we typically office out of Dallas, Texas. Now we're spread out the greater North Texas metroplex as we continue to primarily work from home. I always describe our firm as a mass torts firm, meaning that we do plaintiffs' cases and we tend to do them for multiple plaintiffs at a time. And we did a soft opening in 2017, and so we're right at about the 3-year mark.
Now, Jay, you and I met it's been at least 5 years at a DAYL event. And since that time, you've actually taken on a position with the board. Is that right?
That's right. I had the opportunity to serve in a few bar leadership capacities. I had, right when I got my license, I think for a day, I thought, okay, I'm going to go to work as an associate and I'm going to become a partner and I'm going to maybe have my own firm. And then one day I'll have enough time and I'll give back to the community. And fortunately, seemed like the second day I was licensed, I was like, that's the stupidest thing ever. So I've been pretty involved with bar leadership service. And for any attorney out there, I would just say that I've found it to be extremely rewarding to have something outside of my vocation through which I can pursue a lot of my passions. And then for the attorneys who are earlier on in their career, just speaking from experience, I know it seems a little bit the opposite of what you would think would be true, but now actually running a firm myself, I know that I've only had less and less and less time over the years to actually devote to outside things. So yeah, served on the DOL board, the 2LA board, the ABA board, and I have officially 1 year left of being a young lawyer by everybody's rules. So I'll be retiring next year and handing over the reins to someone else.
Oh, goodness. I remember when I was on the board we were referencing the acronym, but DAYL, for those that don't know, is Dallas Association of Young Lawyers. But anyway, I remember back a few years back, there was a discussion of increasing the range of the years to classify as a young lawyer or number of years experience. But if anything, we just passed the torch, right, Jay?
That's right.
Well, we have a lot to discuss in a short amount of time, but I know, we're recording this during the time of coronavirus. We talked a little bit earlier about things that y'all have done to help create a more efficient practice during this time. Matthew, can you tell us a little more about that?
Yeah, again, this is Matthew Haynie with Forester Haynie, and just want to thank John again for having us today. So during coronavirus, it's been troubling for a number of businesses across the U.S. It's been difficult for us. It's been difficult for individuals, and it's been hard for people and their just family members. So we've had members on our team. Luckily, no one in our office has contracted COVID, but we do have people on our team that their close family members have passed away from this. So it is an issue that Jay and I have both taken very seriously since before even Texas closed down. So Jay and I usually both travel a lot for work, and we kind of saw from just our travels how things were changing. So effective, I believe it was March 1st. Jay can correct me if I'm wrong, but we pretty much sent everybody home. So in our office, what we've been doing is we now have it where everyone's remote. Jay is the only person that goes to the office full time, and then I come up to the office twice a week. And then there for the last 2 months, Jay's been the receptionist. He's been the mailman. He's been the janitor. He's been the stocking, the fridge guy. But he's been also the only person drinking all the drinks. So I guess that's fair. But in all seriousness, what we've done now is we have signs all over the office that say, "Stand here, be 6 feet away." We have a thermometer that will check people's temperatures when they come in the office. We are doing everything we can to keep our people safe, which includes, we have about 15 employees now. They're all remote except for Jay and I come up here, and then we have one person who comes up 3 times a week. So of our 15 people, just 3 of us come to the office, and Jay has a pretty serious 10 feet rule that no one's allowed within 10 feet of him. Up 3 times a week. So of our 15 people, just 3 of us come to the office, and Jay has a pretty serious 10 feet rule that no one's allowed within 10 feet of him. And then not only are we doing what we can to protect our employees, but we're doing what we can to help people nationwide. So Jay's been doing a lot of cases nationwide, at least signing up clients that have either contracted COVID for their employer not taking proper precautions. And then in my practice, the personal injury section, we've been signing a lot of clients that have developed COVID and, unfortunately passed away in a nursing home because the nursing home didn't take proper precautions.
Well, I'm glad to hear that you guys have some protocol set up to help with your team members and also to keep your practice going. Of course, that's been everyone's concern about how do we maintain a practice, because traditionally we just have clients or other practitioners come into the office and visit. So even today feels strange to have this all done by video recording
Right.
and not in person. But have you found that your clients have been satisfied with doing everything by video? Because personally for me, I've received some calls that, "Hey John, can we schedule a face-to-face appointment?" And I said, "Well, we really prefer that we follow the CDC guidelines." What do you guys think?
Yeah, so I'll go first, and then Jay can chime in too. But I've done a deposition through Zoom. It's been completely different. We've done a client interview through Zoom, also completely different. However, both of those took place in California, so it was great for me and the client because I didn't have to fly to California, then fly back. He didn't have to, come to Texas and then go back to California. So it's been nice in that aspect. And then it's also been great because usually, when you have something like that, you have to do a practice and do a training and make sure it works. So from a time management standpoint, it's been great. And then from the just person aspect though, it hasn't been as great. So, we had a lady drop by our office today, and it was unfortunate because she's one of our wage and hour clients, and we didn't have the chance to meet her, but we asked her to drop off the documents for her case just at the front door. So, when it comes to people that are just right here in our own city, we don't even get to meet them and talk to them, but we can at least talk on the phone, and we do have video, which is, it's better than nothing, but it's not the same as an in-person interaction. And
Jay,
Jay,
have you had other experiences similar to that?
I would just add that Matthew described a lot of things about our practice that aren't necessarily tied to a specific location, and we've benefited a lot from Matthew's leadership since we started the firm, just understanding how are people I have a nephew who's 14. And so from day one, we've thought a lot about what is the law firm that my 14-year-old nephew will use in the future look like. And to your point, John, there are a lot of challenges, and I certainly don't have the answers for most of them. But I do think that to the extent you're confronted with something, I would encourage you to think about it, not only in terms of what is the COVID response, but how can you at least evaluate making some changes that you might actually do long term. And we've been surprised. A lot of our employees, they've worked fine remotely. I talked to one of my mentors this morning, and he's got a 30-person law firm on the defense side in Dallas. And he said he anticipates that even when COVID is done, 75% of his employees may want to stay remote. And if you're thinking about, okay, well, how do I even figure out what works for my practice? Another one of my mentors is John Ting. And one of the things that I've really benefited from my relationship with John over the years is probably once a quarter, I just ask him what he's reading. And so John has done a really good job of just thinking about the business aspect of law. And it sounds like you also don't have all the answers, John, but I know at least you're investing in yourself and always have that growth mindset. And I know it's tough, but just like a lot of businesses, I feel like a lot of businesses that are built for adaptation and to be around for the long term, they're going to not only survive, but I think some of them will thrive in this environment. And it may be harsh, but I think that if you're unable to adapt, then there's a lot of long-term problems your practice may face anyways. So I would certainly get someone like John in your life that can speak wisdom and share their reading list with you.
Well, Jay, thanks for considering me as a mentor. We can certainly, regardless of years of experience or age, we can all learn from something from each other. And anyway, I'm glad you've been able to learn something from me. But as practitioners, we often think about continuing legal education, CLE, for the actual practice area or something more specific within the practice area. But one of the reasons for this podcast is to share knowledge about how to operate a business and also how to manage your team, because oftentimes there's more often that you all three of us have heard is that whether you're paralegal or assistant or even associate, they change jobs because they don't like their current situation. So I think we've all talked about ways to engage with our team to see how they're feeling and what tools that we can help provide them to do a better job. And with that, providing, like you guys said, providing ability to work remotely is a great option for them. It may seem an obvious option right now, but I've heard of some law firms are not being flexible. But maybe by now, 2 or 3 months later, they're forced to be flexible. But in terms of the client side, in their perspective, when they're working, I know Matthew, you had mentioned about some cases with nursing homes, but can y'all provide an example of what a potential client of y'all's or a current client of y'all's could think about when they're going through a situation of working during coronavirus? Because a lot of American employees or workers are service-based.
Yeah, so probably the best example would be Jay and I are currently working with another firm down in Houston on a class case against a security guard company. And as you guys have seen in the news, these security guard companies are considered, the employees are considered first responders. So a lot of the CDC guidelines and a lot of the different guidelines put out by different cities and states, it stated that those people needed to show up to work and they needed to be there. So we've not only received a lot of phone calls and a lot of worry from our current clients, but future clients that have sent us emails and send us notices from their employers that are just completely ignoring those guidelines. So I made a video for our firm when all this started because we were getting flooded with tons of calls. So the video is still on our website and it's still on our Facebook site. If anybody does have an employer that's not listening to what the CDC says, or they're not listening to what their city, state, or local officials are saying to do, then I would just tell them to, one, look at that video, give their local police department a call if they do feel that their life is in danger, and then of course give our office a call if it's not something that we can help with. Then Jay has a wide range of other attorneys he knows. So if it's something that Forester Haynie can't help with, then he likely knows another attorney that can help.
Thank you for sharing that, Matthew. You both had mentioned you work with other law firms and collaborate in that sense. Now, most practitioners think about either they have a partner and they can only work within their law firm on a case, but oftentimes you can, in a way, collaborate on a case. And can one of y'all explain about that? Since you have some case in North Carolina or on the East Coast, how do you arrange this kind of working relationship for your clients?
Sure. I mean, going back to the conversation earlier, Matthew and I have been very intentional about developing relationships over the years. And that's one of the things that, frankly, I've found is not only valuable for law firm, but has unlimited value just for your life. And so a lot of people that we've developed in the context of, service, for example, John and I are now friends. And in terms of just other co-counsel relationships, we're always looking for things that are synergetic. And one of the things I've learned about synergy over the years is it's actually best utilized when you have differences. So we already have a J Forester. So I think a lot of mistakes that people find is they look for partners or associates or co-counsel that they can just necessarily relate to. But we've done a lot with different firms that not only are plaintiffs firms, but people that are like you, John, that have a primary immigration practice that can just allow us to think outside of the box. And so you mentioned North Carolina firm. We've done a lot of work in the last few years as part of our delivery driver practice, representing delivery drivers in North Carolina. Well, we have to get local counsel, and we know, of course, some other local firms that also handle wage cases, but instead we've partnered with a firm that they have a car wreck and a single event personal injury practice. So they are fully equipped to be our local counsel. They can file cases, but one of the benefits that's come out of that is a lot of the nursing home cases that Matthew's mentioned. It just has happened that our past cases we've had in North Carolina, out of that, we've discovered that some of those people, it's their family members that have had issues with their nursing homes. So it's really just seeing, it's another opportunity to help people, but then the relationship we have in North Carolina, that firm is better equipped than us to file a lot of these nursing home cases. So certainly we're doing some in Texas, but in that context, it makes sense to work with them. And then, conversations you and I have had over the years, actually the first case that Forester Haynie ever got handled, successfully resolved, got a client paid was a referral from John Ting. And so we're still fighting that fight. And I'll have to check, but I believe we now represent multiple people from the state of Georgia. So it's just, I think it goes back to the last comment I made of, I just feel like with a lot of these situations, you can think about it as a short-term problem, or you can look for a long-term solution. And I think having a long-term game plan will not only provide you a solution for COVID, but can really help your firm succeed in crisis or no crisis.
John, I would just add to that like a different aspect would be the types of cases you can work on. So if we partner up with another firm, whether they're in Texas or they're in Alaska, it allows Jay and I more time to work on the cases we really want to work on. So for example, we've got a whole docket of cases for people that have been, unfortunately sexually abused. And I, over the last year, have really developed an interest in those cases. And that takes up 90% of my time is working on those cases. But when I started those cases, we had, probably 10 dockets of different mass torts. So in order for me to free up my time to work on the sexual abuse cases and to help those victims, I had to find different firms across the U.S. to help take over our mass tort dockets. So within the last year, Jay and I have partnered up with different firms, ranging from a firm in Florida to a firm all the way in California, that are now helping our older clients that are hurt because of a defective product or a faulty drug or a bad medical device. They're working with those firms. And of course, our firm's still working on the case, and we still have representatives here in our office that talk to those clients. But it has been a way for me to work on different types of areas of law. And I would just, tell that to any young lawyer that's watching this, especially as you continue to grow, to, try different types of law. That way you can figure out what it is you really want to do.
So with that, when you collaborate with other law firms or co-counsel, strategically, is that because it's not in addition to having the client contact, and for example, North Carolina, it's also, I'm assuming, because you need to be a pro hoc vice admission into that district court. Is that right?
So that's what Jay was getting on when he was talking about the different types of cases he's got in North Carolina and Georgia. For the mass tort and personal injury context, you don't always need that, because a lot of times you can settle the case pre-suit, or there's a special court that's been set up and they waive that whole pro hoc requirement. But what I was getting at was it allows you the ability to partner up with bigger plaintiffs firms or bigger firms that have been around and have 50 or 100 attorneys. And it not only allows us to partner up with them, but it allows us an opportunity to learn. One example is Jay's been working with a large firm out of Florida, and he's learned from one of their partners. And, just to see how much he's learned in the last 3 years from that mentor, it's been, any co-counsel fee we give up is worth that.
Great. Sounds like there's been multiple avenues for y'all to collaborate and learn from each other. That's great to hear. Well, how does a client normally find you? I know that there's, for example, you guys had a case with valet drivers in Dallas, right? And also some pizza delivery drivers.
Yeah, so most of the clients we retain find us through social media, or they find us through Google. We recently hired a new advertising marketing head, and she's been working for, the last 3-4 months. She's been doing a great job getting us quality cases and helping clients find our firm. And then, surprisingly enough, almost, I would say, at least a quarter of our clients found us because of former clients or because of another attorney referral. So it does help to have those connections that you and Jay are both way better than I am of getting out there and being proactive and meeting different people in the legal community. But we get a lot of referrals just from Jay's network. And then as Jay's mentioned, he's represented thousands, if not tens of thousands, of pizza delivery drivers at this point. And a lot of delivery drivers like to talk, and they all seem to know each other. And, after we help one person, they'll talk to their family member or their friend and then tell them to give us a call.
You're right on that point, Matthew. Definitely every time I'm in a Uber or taxi, they're always talking to someone on the phone or the mic. So,
Right.
but they're still safe. So no worries on that part. But glad to hear about y'all's success and your um, young start to your law firm. But it sounds like you guys both have years of experience even before you started your law firm. So speaking about your partnership, can one of y'all speak about some important principles that y'all had before you decided to mutually join together in this legal business marriage?
Jay, I'll let you have the hard question.
I mean, I think the word marriage is right in a lot of ways. It is a marriage. And I had before we started, I had lunch with a mentor of mine, and he said, "How well do you know this guy? It's basically like you're marrying him. Are you sure you want to marry him?" And I said, "Yeah, we're going to do it. We're going to be 50-50." And then he said, "Hold up, don't do it 50-50." And he proceeded to describe to me all the ways he had done it that honestly didn't really sound like a marriage, where everything was very formulaic and segmented. And, if you truly have a family, I don't think it's going to work as well if there's one partner that's in charge of the living room exclusively and the other partner is in charge of the dining room exclusively. So I do think it's developed in the last couple of years where we've figured out our roles. But yeah, Matthew and I are 50-50 partners, and that is really deep to us. A few things that I think has helped us is that we have spending limits. So we have a certain amount of money that we're each authorized to spend without talking to each other. You need to have trust generally to speed up your transactions, but at the same time, from a financial standpoint, then we have other limitations. So it would be, on one level, we have to get each other's approval to spend a certain amount. Even after we've spent that amount and agreed to it, then once it actually gets paid, then one partner has to approve that. And then we have a final limit that if we get to that limit, both partners have to approve it. So, I think that it's both trust and accountability, right? And I think that's helped us out a lot. And I just feel like I've met a lot of people that they want a partner, and so they just pick someone. And so that's not how you would marry a person. Matthew and I are really lucky because we went to law school together, and so we knew each other for 5 years or so before we started our firm. And in many ways, he's like my brother now. So I think it's worked out really well for us, but I think we're just in a really unique situation. So if you're a law student, this is a good time to either get married, whether it's in your law partner or your domestic partner sense.
Yeah, I think you mean start dating around in that sense in law school.
Oh yeah. Well, at least keep your eyes open.
Yeah, keep your eyes open. That's good. Well, I'm very happy for both of y'all in that sense too. But even thinking before your partnership, you both had experiences working, I believe, as an associate. Um, what would you take from that experience in terms of seeing your supervisor or your boss and how they operated? And maybe you thought, well, shoot, I really don't want to do it that way. Can you talk a little bit about that without stating any names?
Yeah, so Jay and I are really big on giving back to law students since we even started our firm. We started our firm 3 years ago, and the very first people we hired were 6 law students to come help us out. And the 6 law students worked for us that summer. And part of that is we wanted to not only just give back to law students, but I felt that neither one of us had a great law student experience working for an employer. So we tried to not only teach law students, hey, this is how a law firm actually works, rather than just writing memos and briefs all day and just busy work, but also just to, give them some words of advice and words of wisdom for their final years in law school.
Mhm.
And one thing that Jay likes to tell them is, no matter what job it is you get after school, just treat it as a bridge. Jay really likes bridges and airplanes and all kinds of weird structures. But I think the bridge analogy is a really good one because my first job out of law school was not where I wanted to work. It wasn't, what I thought I was going to be doing. But I got in there and I probably learned more at that job than I learned at my other two jobs after that one, because as long as you put your head down, work really hard, then you can take something from that job that can help you in the future. And like I said, I learned a lot about marketing. I learned a lot about the clients that we represent, and I learned a lot about how I didn't want to work 80 hours a week. So I would just, tell any law student out there, or young attorney, that you may not be in your perfect job right now, but use it as a bridge. Figure out what it is that you do like about that job, because there's got to be something that you like about the job. Figure out what that is and how you can build on that to get to the next better job. Or if it is, you want to start your own firm, like Jay and I did, both of us took different paths after we had that very first job out of law school.
Mhm.
And it allowed us to learn, what it is we wanted to do and what it is we didn't want to do when it came to starting our own law firm.
Mhm. Thank you for sharing that, Matthew. In fact, I know y'all both love dropping knowledge. And so we had discussed before this call that you're working on your own podcast or channel. And so when you have that started, I'm going to add your information down below here in the description. And for everyone else following us and viewing this channel, please check out ForesterHaynie.com. They have a wonderful website. I remember.
I think that's the thing that people do forget a lot of times, is that if you only surround yourself, if you're like a car wreck attorney and you only surround yourself by car wreck attorneys, you're not going to get that much better. And so that's the thing that, I've learned a ton from you. By the way, I'm reading Speed of Trust right now, which has been a great book, and I think it's just because we do different stuff. So
Right.
that might be the benefit, is just like finding other attorneys that have a synergetic practice. So like, maybe a criminal defense person or car wreck person, or like for us, we could do maybe some Title VII ones, and just, I think that would be kind of a good idea.
Well, hey, I also know that I think was it California and another state said that college athletes need to get paid. So I'm not sure when that's effective, but I'm sure that's crossed your dashboard there.
Yeah, we've been watching that.
Where do you see your firm in 5 years?
Yeah, hopefully in 5 years we've developed to the point where I think we see doing that probably in the environmental context. I mean, it's crazy that there's only about 10 firms right now that really are equipped to support the EPA, and the EPA under this administration isn't really doing a lot.
Yeah, that's surprising, but that'd be really good for work that you guys be doing. But yeah, let's touch base then in the I guess a month or two. Yeah, well, thanks for your time again, guys.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, take care. Bye. Hey everyone. Well, we want to thank Jay Forester and Matthew Haynie for visiting with us today. We appreciate their time and their busy schedule. If you like this information today, please subscribe at the button below. Follow our podcast and our channel on YouTube. If you have any questions, please put it down in the comments and we'll try our best to answer them.